Imagine this. Your town's financial tracking gets so severely delayed that a major grading institution literally just walks away from evaluating them altogether. Well, that is exactly what happened in the dramatic news we're exploring today. Moody's Investor Service actually completely withdrew Bloomfield, Connecticut's credit rating. They slapped it with a staggering WR, which stands for withdrawn rating, basically saying there's just insufficient or inadequate information to even score them. And right on the heels of that, S&P Global Ratings downgraded Bloomfield's general obligation debt from AA+ down to AA. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting up an impartial, forensic investigation into the structural and financial anomalies behind these recent downgrades. We're going to strictly use the data, the municipal ledgers and the audit letters, to compare Bloomfield to its neighbors. We're talking towns like Windsor, Rocky Hill, West Hartford, and Simsbury. We really want to understand how a town with pretty solid economic fundamentals ended up facing a crisis that ultimately impacts every single taxpayer.
Section 1. The credit rating shock. Okay, let's dive into this by tracing the exact timeline of this credit rating collapse, just to see where things actually began to fracture. Right here on our timeline, we have the official S&P Global Ratings notice from December 30th, 2025. S&P lowered the town's general obligation debt to AA and, this is key, placed it on credit watch negative. Their rationale? It was incredibly direct. They pointed to persistent delays in audit filings and a total lack of timely, sufficient information to even maintain the ratings. S&P noted this was totally inconsistent with AA+ peers across the state. They also flagged an elevated governance risk, specifically pointing out regular turnover in both the town manager and director of finance positions.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates what a rating withdrawal, or WR, really means in plain terms. When we look at the concept of a material weakness in municipal finance, you can kind of think of it like a third-grade report card. The town's financial tracking fell so far behind that the grading company basically refused to even issue a grade because the town essentially lost half their homework. I mean, they simply didn't have the data required to prove their financial health. But the warning signs, they were flashing months earlier. By July 18, 2025, the state of Connecticut's Office of Policy and Management issued the severe non-compliance letter. It explicitly stated that as of July 1st, Bloomfield had completely exhausted its 6-month statutory extension for the delinquent 2024 audits. This placed a town at serious risk of a Tier 1 designation, basically warning that this lack of timeliness was a huge red flag for underlying financial or internal control challenges.
Section 2. Comparing executive footprints. So, a natural question pops up. Is this simply a resource issue? Well, let's pivot our investigation and ask how Bloomfield's administrative overhead compares to neighboring municipalities who actually are successfully filing their reports on time during this exact same period. When we look at the comparative matrix, the difference in scale is, well, it's staggering. Bloomfield, a town of roughly 21,500 residents, employs 2 executive assistants costing over $320,000, plus a massive 3.5 full-time equivalent public relations department exceeding $670,000. Now, compare that to Rocky Hill and West Hartford. West Hartford is a town 3 times Bloomfield's size, yet it operates with just 1 or 2 assistants and only recently added a single PR staffer. And towns like Windsor, Simsbury, and Rocky Hill, they operate much leaner, integrating their communications entirely without needing a standalone multi-person PR division. The comparative data reveals even more discrepancies when we look at executive fringe benefits. Now, while the town manager's base salary in Bloomfield generally aligns with the capital region average, there is one data point that practically jumps right off the page. The executive vehicle allowance operates at a staggering 1,500% above the regional standard. Actually, let me repeat that, 1,500%. It's a massive deviation from the standard municipal baselines we see in all these comparable towns. Section 3. Legal and administrative costs.
Let's move on and see how this builds a broader picture of administrative bloat by examining some other back-office financial figures. See this massive number here? 127%. That represents the legal budget overrun for the town. While the town originally budgeted roughly $293,000 for outside legal counsel, the actual expenditures absolutely skyrocketed to over $608,000. And this is being billed at an hourly rate of $250. Ultimately, we're talking about taxpayer dollars evaporating into massive hourly overruns. When we put that legal strategy up against neighboring towns, the operational differences are honestly pretty stark. West Hartford utilizes an in-house corporation counsel model. So they pay fixed staff salaries, which strictly prevents this kind of hourly billing inflation on routine administrative or Freedom of Information Act tasks. Meanwhile, towns like Windsor and Simsbury, which do use outside counsel, put those contracts out to competitive bid to keep market rates and budgets tightly controlled. Bloomfield's heavy reliance on hourly outside counsel, that's what directly led to those severe budget overruns. Section 4. Growth rates and demographics. Okay, this brings us to a critical juncture in our explainer. Does Bloomfield's economic growth justify this uniquely large, metropolitan-scaled administrative footprint compared to its neighbors? Well, let's look at the economics. Impartially speaking, Bloomfield's median household income is quite healthy, sitting at $97,436. However, it does still remain slightly behind neighboring towns like Rocky Hill at just over $100,000 and Windsor at over $107,000. Yet, as we've just seen, those neighboring towns manage to operate significantly leaner executive and administrative governments. Now, it is absolutely crucial to note that Bloomfield's fundamental economics are actually quite strong. The 2021 grand list grew by 2.38%, and the 2022 grand list saw a 3.0% increase, mostly driven by new construction and improvements. But while Bloomfield's grand list grew by 3.0%, we really have to ask, how does this growth rate actually compare to Windsor, Rocky Hill, West Hertford, or Simsbury over that exact same period? Well, the comparative data shows Bloomfield's growth aligns right in the middle of the pack with these peers, rather than vastly outpacing them. Still, the town boasts a stellar property tax collection rate of 98.8% and maintains a highly balanced mix of commercial, residential, retail, and manufacturing tax bases. The economic foundation is absolutely there, there's no doubt about that. Section 5. The bottom line. So, what does this all mean? How do we synthesize these strong economic fundamentals with these structural comparisons and, quite frankly, these severe financial reporting failures we've just forensically examined? Well, the crucial point is this stark juxtaposition. On one hand, Bloomfield operates with an inflated C-suite, massive PR expenditures, and sprawling legal costs that far exceed its regional peers. But on the other hand, despite this massive administrative investment, the town still suffered a catastrophic 18-month delay in balancing its ledgers, failing to produce even basic, timely financial reporting. This massive disconnect, that is exactly what S&P and Moody's identified as an elevated governance risk. Which leaves us with this final, vital question to ponder. With neighboring towns clearly demonstrating how to manage similar growth and populations with much leaner, far more efficient frameworks, can Bloomfield realign its executive footprint? Will structural reform and a return to regional baselines be the key to filing audits on time and restoring the town's highly valued creditworthiness? Ultimately, it's a governance challenge that won't just define the town's credit rating, but the financial future of literally every taxpayer who calls it home.